What's up, Packer fans? I'm Nariah Chapek, host of Pour Another Packers podcast, and thank you for clicking on this video. Family night is behind us, and Cleveland is ahead of us. It was a slow news week in Packers land, so Christian and I decided that we're going to predict the upcoming 2024 season to kind of fill in a little bit of time. Guys, grab yourself a drink. It is time to pour ourselves another Packers podcast. All right, so we're going to kick this thing off. Believe it or not, for those of you watching this video, this is going to be our third time attempting to record this. We have extreme technical difficulties happening. So we're just going to kind of coast through. We're going to hope that, I can hear Christian actually talk once we hit the, I'll take the 3-minute mark at this point, quite frankly. Let's see. What did I start off the last couple of videos? I already ran through it twice. You know how I presented it, Christian. Why don't you go ahead and kick off the very first thing that I wanted to bring up in this video?
Well, so we started off the first video, you asking me how my week was. So, Nariah, how was your week? How did how'd things go this week for you?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate the question, but we missed the entire first part. Last week, we started talking about subscribing and commenting on this video. And as a result, nobody commented, and we did get 5 subscribers. So let me say this. Started the channel in 2019, posted 70 videos within the first year, and then it went dormant. So the algorithm at YouTube absolutely hates Pour Another right now. So it would mean the world to Christian and I if you like the content, if you're a fan of the Packers, if you even like any of the NFC North teams, because we're going to talk about them. Hit the subscribe button, comment down below. Content will continue to flow, and we'll kind of get ourselves back in this algorithm, because I think that we put out a pretty good production, barring tonight's episode, because technical difficulties are an absolute shit show. And yes, that will be my one swear word that I use for the entire recording of this. So as far as how my week went, Christian, it was fine. It was all right. I watched Family Night Football. I actually got to see a Packers practice. And on that note, part of why the technical difficulties are so frustrating tonight is that I have to wake up. I don't have to, but I'm going to wake up at 6:30 in the morning tomorrow and drive over to Green Bay, catch a practice live. I'm bringing my 6-year-old son with his bike, and maybe he'll get one of the Packers players to ride the bike. So the plan was for this to be, a quick 30-minute record and done. It is now an hour and 20 minutes in, and we are just starting the episode. And so that's how my week is going, if you want to ask. My week is
going. I don't know if I should talk much. You might be mad at me because it seems to be my network issues. So,
well, the irony is you just upgraded your internet too, so it's completely confusing to both of us.
Somebody out there can help us with these connectivity issues. Comment, and then we'll figure out getting a hold of you, because we got to get this figured out.
And if I seem a little bit giddy, it's because, for the last hour and 20 minutes, I've been drinking. And I'm supposed to be done recording by now. But like I said, we're just getting started. I actually had to resort to the bottom of my fridge for a Busch Latte. Haven't cracked this one open yet, but when we get there, it's game over. That's game over. So anyway, back to Packers football. Let's talk about it. Let's dive into it. Let's try to knock some of the stuff off before we get to the scheduling. Family night. I'm glad we didn't record it. I was going to live stream it on Facebook. I'm kind of glad I went away from that, because you had announcers, Larry McCarron, and I still can't remember the other guy's name that was on there. I should have probably looked that up in the last hour and a half, but they talked over they talked over the entire recording. So for me to go live, for us to go live and talk over their talking, would have been redundant. But not a ton of takeaways from Family Night. It was a pretty vanilla practice. It'd be a lot cooler to be there, see the fireworks show and all that stuff. But, we got to see a little bit of Romeo Doubs making some plays, Christian Watson making some plays. The defense looked good at times. For the most part, they looked good. It's always tough watching these practices. Now, this is something we didn't talk about in previous 2 recordings. I don't know whether I want to see an offense that is absolutely firing on all cylinders and our defense is getting burned, or I want to see a defense that's stopping our $220 million quarterback from doing anything. Do you have I know they asked Matt LaFleur, they're like, yeah, goes in waves. There's pros and cons, right? Do you have a preference on what you would like to see, like during practice, one over the other?
No, I don't necessarily have a preference, but I if you really think about it, practices that are televised or open to the media, and then pre-games too. Matt LaFleur is not gonna throw out his full playbook for the preseason or
Right.
for a practice for that matter. So I saw a comment about family night. It said Jordan Love struggles, defense dominates or something like that. Well, sure, maybe that's the way it looked, but the offense is just running their base offense. There's nothing, no special plays, no trick plays. So it's not what the offense is actually going to look like in the regular season. So I don't really have a preference what I see from the practices. I just want guys to stay healthy. I want guys to compete. Obviously, last week we talked about how many competitions there are. So guys got to stand out. But as far as the team drill where they're offense versus defense, it's gonna be one or the other each week, and I don't think that it matters really.
Yeah, to your point, we with the health side of things, probably the closest that we got to some sort of injury was a beautiful pass by Jordan Love to Christian Watson right across the middle, and Watson took a little bit of a hit. Everyone's healthy. We went through a family night unscathed. That is the ultimate thing. Get through practice, get through preseason, quite frankly, unscathed. But yeah, I struggle with it. It's like the offense does something really great. I'm like, God, I don't know. Is our defense going to be any better this year? And then the defense absolutely stifles the offense. I'm like, oh God, we just paid Jordan Love all this money and we can't even move the ball down the field. I don't like. We got to get some preseason games. I got to watch some actual football so I can feel confident, a little bit more confident in what we got. But we did want to touch upon the kicking competition a little bit. We didn't get a chance to talk about that last week. We're down to two kickers, Greg Joseph and Anders Carlson. They had a little bit of a kickoff, as you could say. I guess it's a term. It's a double entendre on what they did Saturday night. My personal opinion, I think it's going to boil down to ultimately, I think it's Carlson's job to lose. I'm a firm believer that if they go into the final week of training camp and they're both like fairly similar, they've made 50 out of 55 kicks, it's going to Carlson. I think there has to be like a 10, 15, 20 kick difference for Joseph to get that, just because they spent the draft pick on Carlson, and I think that he's young, he's got a lot of growing to do, and I don't think that you just cut him all right at the legs this early on. But those are my quick thoughts. This is exactly where I lost you last time, and I didn't hear anything you said about the kicking competition. So for the very first time, Christian, let us all know what you think of the kicking competition.
Yeah, so we didn't have time to touch on this last week, but that kicking competition is a really important one. And from my perspective, every time I get a notification or a stat about what the Packers kickers are doing in camp right now, it doesn't sound good for either of them. I think at family night, they both missed 2 out of 3. The only kick that either of them made was an extra point. So with it not going well for either of them, I wouldn't be surprised if the Packers brought in another guy to add to the competition. It's not out of the realm of possibility with the performance that these two kickers have been putting up in training camp so far.
Yeah, so Sean Clifford, it was the twos that got him down the field, and this is kind of how family night ended, right? I believe that they got him down to like I think they were like 55-yard field goals. They weren't exactly gimmies, but Carlson went first, missed it, and then Joseph had an opportunity to make it. They did ice Carlson, which I thought was pretty clever to kind of give him that game like experience. So they rush him on the field, they call a timeout. Now he's got to think about it. He misses it. So I like that they did that. I mean, this is what practice is all about. I don't know. I don't know if they bring in another person or not. I mean, it's kind of slim pickings, I think, as it is. I think every camp probably has, let's say every camp has two kickers. And I don't know if that's true or not, but you're talking about 64 kickers out there in training camps right now. I don't know if anyone worth picking up actually comes to the table until after rosters are cut down to a 53 and then you got to go into the regular season. I mean, yeah, competition's great. I think they could use more competition, but like we just discussed, they went from 3 down to 2. I think they have their mind. I think it's all fucking mind games. There's my second curse word. I think it's all mind games that they are looking at Carlson to be the answer. They're just trying to add extra pressure to see how he handles it, because you get into the playoffs against the San Francisco 49ers and you're going to need to have a little bit of pressure and come through in that moment. And if you're going to be a kicker in the NFL.
Yeah, I didn't watch the broadcast, so I didn't know about them icing Carlson when he attempted the 55-yard field goal. So, learning that now, that says something to me that like you said, it's his job to lose. So if they're doing that to him in practice, obviously they want him to get that game-like experience. And if they didn't do it for the other guy, then that definitely says something. But to your point, it's, maybe they finish out training camp and go into the season with Carlson, and if he doesn't perform, then at that point maybe they start shopping around, because we've talked about it before. It's a big deal in game situations. You got to have those 3 points, or you got to have that extra point, and if he's not performing, then I can see them bringing in somebody else. But yeah, it makes sense that they're wanting him to succeed.
And the Packers are a rinse and repeat organization. A few years ago, you had Mason Crosby, who was coming off kind of a rocky year, and they brought in a kicking competition. Crosby ends up winning it out, and Crosby goes on to have a rather solid following season too. So I think they're kind of hoping that this will be a rinse and repeat sort of result with Carlson. Like I said, they drafted him. This is going to be a second year. Joseph has way more experience, but I don't think he's really any better of a kicker. And only time will tell whether or not Carlson will step up. So it's going to be a competition that continues to go. We're going to see at least 2, if not 3, to your point, kickers in training camp throughout the next 3 weeks. And we'll get to preseason here. We'll see who steps up and makes them. And it's probably just going to, kind of boil down to if anybody really jumps out, and if nobody jumps out, then we ride with Carlson and head down to Brazil.
Before we move on from family night, I just wanted to make one other comment about it. So one thing I noticed outside of practice, like I said, I didn't see the broadcast. I saw highlights of good things that happened. You had the kid from Waupun that caught the 3 punts, 3 balls. He was holding all 3 balls. That kind of stole the show. If you Google it, that's pretty much what pops up for Packers Family Night 2024. But the other thing I noticed was the camaraderie with the team. There was a lot of pictures and videos of the Packers players themselves, the coaches, all their family members. They hung out on the field for the fireworks show afterwards. I've never been to a family night, so I guess I don't know if that's common, but it was very cool to see, especially compared to the other things going on in the NFC North training camps. So there's 2 different videos now. Lions and Giants are holding joint practices right now. And the last 2 days, pretty big fights have broken out between the Lions and the Giants. Like, pretty bad fights, like guys throwing punches. It doesn't look good for either side. So a lot of drama going on there. And then there was one of the Bears defensive backs was making a bunch of noise in the media about not making the NFL top 100. He made a comment about Aaron Rodgers making it, and he didn't, and Aaron Rodgers is old and washed up. He said something to that effect. But it was really nice to see where the Packers team is at. They look very together. They look like they are playing as a unit. They're spending time together outside of practice, and then to see what's going on in some of the other camps. So that was interesting to see, and something I wanted to touch on.
Yeah, a talent is half the battle, right? And one thing that Jeff Hafley brought up in his press conference last week, which we talked about quite a bit last week, but I don't think I said this, that he made a comment about how impressed he was with Brian Gutekunst and Matt LaFleur and the amount of character that these players have, and that they want to work hard and they want to be their best. That's probably I might be preaching to the choir here, but that's one of the things that makes me as proud as it does to be a Packers fan, is that there's just something special about the players. We very rarely get the prima donnas that come in and it's all about me. And as I say that, Rodgers pops into my head, but I'm talking more eccentric than that, right? I'm talking about, he's never passing me the ball, or I'm being benched or whatever the case may be. It's very rare, and there's one-offs, but they don't become a growing, thing. And so, yeah, I agree. I think we're going to see more and more of it. Those joint practices can be very dangerous. They have two. The Packers have two coming up. So they play the Baltimore Ravens, and then they play the Denver Broncos. They're going to be holding joint practices with those two teams in the next couple of weeks, over the next 2 weeks. For whatever reason, they decided not to hold the joint practice with the Cleveland Browns. Maybe there's something to that, maybe not. But in the past, it's been something to be mindful with that. Rodgers used to say all the time that joint practices are great if you can keep your head on your shoulders and get the work done. But more often than not, they can just get away from you and then nothing gets accomplished for either team. I don't know. So are you implying that this might be a direct reflection on the Bears and the Lions, or more so that, it's just I don't know. What are you implying? What are you implying, Christian?
I'm implying that Matt LaFleur and the Packers organization in general, to your point, has picked guys that have a high quality of character, and they've put this team together and instilled in this team that it's not all about football. These guys are of good character. They get along really well. They are involved in the community, and you don't see that with every NFL team. There are some NFL teams where it's very opposite of that, which, like you said, also makes me very proud to be a Packer fan because of the type of team that they are, not just their performance on the field, but what they represent. So that was my point. Not necessarily that there's a big issue with the other two teams that I mentioned, the Bears and the Lions, or the Giants for that matter. But it was just, it stood out to me, the what's going on elsewhere and what's going on at in Green Bay.
So to put it in a nutshell, the Green Bay Packers fucking rock is what you're trying to say. I think that's what you're trying to get at, right?
Fucking rock.
Fucking rock. So let's look forward to Cleveland. I think after this preseason game, looking forward to actually having some preseason footage. And I think next week's episode is going to give us a lot to talk about on who maybe stood out and who didn't have a great game. They are going to have the starters. So Matt LaFleur in his press conference on Tuesday said that, he does plan on playing the starters. I think some of that might factor in a little bit to not having a joint practice and actually getting that game day feel and getting some reps with, other talented defenses or a different roster in general. He didn't commit to that being necessarily a thing throughout the rest of the preseason, but we'll kind of see how it goes on a case-to-case basis. Any nervousness on your end about the starters playing? Are you glad that the starters are playing? Are you worried there's going to be injuries? Thoughts on that one?
Yeah, there's always a little bit of nervousness in the preseason. It's happened before. Your star player, or really any player for that matter, gets injured in preseason and is out for whether it's a few weeks or the entire season. It doesn't matter how long it's going to be. It makes a difference. So there's always a little bit of nervousness, but honestly, in my opinion, I think it's important for the starters to at least get some reps in the preseason, not only for the fans to see, but also to get that game environment feel so that you're not walking into the regular season shaking the rust off. I think it's important.
Yeah, last year the Packers were able to, they played, I mean, you had to at that point. It was Jordan Love's first year as the starter. Rodgers is gone. So they did run their starters all through preseason. I think that it has to help getting not. I think the biggest thing that Matt LaFleur pointed out is that you have a 3 o'clock game, you have a night game, and you have a noon game in all these preseason games. So you're kind of able to prep accordingly for how you approach the week, how you approach your body and your mind, and getting ready for these different kickoff times. The season starts week 1, and we're probably, a few minutes from talking about this, our schedule predictions, but they got to be ready week 1. I'm all for it. Don't get me wrong. I still look back at 2014 Packers at Pittsburgh preseason football. Jordy Nelson makes a cut, busts his leg, and he's out the entire season. Like that, I still think of that stuff, and it's like, you don't want that. You definitely don't want that. But the team's young, and they got to get kind of ready to hit the ground running, because they're going to be playing a team that I think very well will determine playoff seeding, 4 or 5 months from now. So they got to get their shit together. They got to be playing ready come week 1. And if that means playing some preseason football, I mean, that's what it's there for, is to get ready for the regular season. Yes, it's to evaluate your team and figure out roster decisions, but preseason's all about getting ready for the regular season, because you don't have many chances, many weeks to solidify your place in the rankings to make it to the playoffs and go further.
Yeah, I think it's important for the starters, but it's also important for the second stringers, the third stringers, the guys that are fighting for a roster spot. It's their opportunity to, in the game field, show what they've been working on in practice. And sometimes preseason games help determine who gets that starting spot. So we talked about how many positions for the Packers there is competition. So those preseason games are going to be a deciding factor in at least some of it.
Yeah, just last year you had Corey Ballantyne and Valentine. Like, we did not know who they were until the preseason, and they were the ones that stood out. I think Sean Clifford looked really good in preseason, which, by the way, he looked better at family night. I don't know if it's maybe just the lights get turned on and all of a sudden he figures out that he knows how to play football, but maybe he's one of those guys. Maybe he doesn't practice well, but in game time situations, he can actually, command the offense and move the ball down the field. So to your point, yes, not all about the starters. We're going to actually get to see what these players are like when it actually matters. But should we talk about regular season? You want to dive into the regular season? Is it about that time?
Yeah, let's jump on it.
So we're going to share this screen, and it's probably going to really just mess up everything. I'm going to throw a little bit of I've been keeping this one from you. I'm going to throw a little bit of a plot twist, because I'm not only going to predict the Packers, let's predict the entire NFC North. I'm not doing every team, every game, but I want to do the NFC North. And we're going to, no time to prepare. It's just gut instinct. Kind of roll down the list here, but let's just start from the top. Packers open up against the Eagles. Maybe we shouldn't talk about this one too much, because in about 3 weeks, we're going to break down the whole week 1 matchup. Who do you like in week 1?
When we decided that we were going to be doing a schedule breakdown and prediction, this is really as far as I got. I looked at week 1. I didn't look much further. And I'm going to unfortunately go Eagles.
Okay. Take the Eagles right off the bat. You're not going to win a whole lot of fans on this podcast there, Christian. You know, when I ran this in 2019, I picked the Packers to go undefeated. And by golly, they went 13-3. All right. So I was right most of the time. I agree. This is going to be a tough matchup. I've heard a lot of good things about Jalen Hurts in preseason. I think I saw some stupid statistic that he threw 128 consecutive passes without an interception. Okay, that's fine. I like the Packers in week 1. I like that they are going to a stadium or a location that is predominantly Packers fans. You couldn't ask for a bigger gift for an away game to be down in Brazil. I think they have a lot to prove. I think they run off of the high at the end of last season. I'm going to take the Packers in week 1. And no, I'm not going to predict them to win every game. So don't worry about that. Spoiler alert. But we'll disagree on that one.
Predict them to lose every game. So,
okay. Thank God. Next game on the list is Bears and Titans. Who you got?
I'm going to go Titans. Caleb Williams, first game. Yeah.
The Bears might actually be a team that I do predict to lose every game this season. But hey, we'll have to see how this pans out a little bit. Further on in Sunday, Vikings at the New York Giants.
I'm going to go Vikings.
Yeah, I'm going to take Minnesota as well in that one. I like how you had no time to prepare. It's just gut instinct about what happened last year. Like, you have no time to process anything that happened in the offseason. Just like, we'll roll this way.
So here's where I'm coming from. I'm very involved in fantasy football, so I'm not strictly going off of last year's stuff. I keep up on the entire NFL for fantasy football reasons, so I'm not going just off of last season.
Take your word for it. And then final game of looks like Sunday Night Football in Week 1. That's a good game. The Rams at the Lions.
I'm taking the
Lions. I'm going to take the Lions. Both taking the Lions?
Yep.
Okay. Let's head on over to Week 2. All right, first matchup, Tampa Bay at Detroit. I think that one seems like a layup.
Lions.
Underneath it, Colts at Packers. It is the Packers home opener.
Packers.
Okay, we finally got a W for them. Vikings at Niners. Or excuse me, Niners at Vikings.
What are you talking about? Finally a W for the Packers. It's week 2. Come on, man.
Hey,
you're not gonna let me live that one down?
Call them how I see them. I assume you took the Niners to beat the Vikings, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then heading down a little bit further, where are the Bears? Oh, they get a Sunday night matchup against CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans on the road.
Yeah, that'll be a high profile one, but I don't know that it will be. I mean, we've talked about my opinion of Caleb Williams. I think the Texans are going to be very good this year, so I think the Texans mop the floor with them.
Yeah, I agree. Do I see the Bears starting out 0-2? I mean, I don't, but I'm going to stick with my original gut on them losing to the Titans in Week 1, and I think there's no chance in hell that they end up beating the Texans. So the Bears will start out 0-2 under Caleb Williams. The entire city of Chicago will crumble, and they will ask to bench Caleb Williams, guaranteed. Will they get things back together in Week 3? They head to Indianapolis to face off against the Colts.
Don't think so, Tim.
I don't think. Really? I think I'm going to give them a W. I'm going to say, I know that everyone is really high. Is it Richardson as the quarterback? Is the
Anthony
Colts?
Richardson,
is that right?
Yep. Anthony Richardson was their rookie last year who got injured. There's a lot of good things that we're hearing about him coming back this year. But you can't forget about Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor's the star of that team.
Well, here's the thing. I just say what you will about Caleb Williams, and I'm not a believer in this guy, but I would be hard pressed to think that they do not find a victory somewhere in those first 3 weeks. So I'm kind of, when I'm looking at these schedule predictions, I'm not only thinking about the individual matchup, I'm thinking, where is this team actually at this point in the season? I'm going to give Chicago their first win. Maybe it's a little bit of an oversight by the Colts, and perhaps the Bears are just super hungry to finally get that first victory. So I'm going to lean on the Bears in Week 3. Houston heads to Minnesota. Got to go to Houston.
I concur.
Okay. I'm writing down your answers before you even say them, because I think we both know that Houston probably wins that game. Green Bay travels to Tennessee in Week 3.
I think the Packers take care of business.
And this is where I will take the L. This is one of those trap games. There's a couple trap games throughout the season. This is one where the Packers, in my opinion, are riding high on a 2-0 start, and some reason they fall flat. But at the end of the day, we both have the Packers at 2-1 after 3 weeks. And then the Lions head to Arizona. What kind of team is Arizona going to have this year?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Kyler Murray's back. They got some new weapons on offense. It'll be interesting, and I think I'll take the Cardinals in this one. I think, exactly what you said with the Bears game, the Lions may overlook the Cardinals and get stung.
Yeah, it's a tough one because we really have no idea. Is this the Cardinals from 2 years ago that it showed flashes under Kyler Murray, or is this the Cardinals from last year? I'd have to think it's a road game for the Lions. I'm gonna go with you on this one. I'm gonna say also an L, and for whatever reason, both the Packers and Lions are officially 2-1 through Week 3. Week 4. First matchup on the list of the schedule. We get our first divisional game. We'll get to that next. Rams head to Chicago. How do you think that one's going to go?
I'm going to take the Bears.
Okay, see, I don't know why, though. Why are you taking the Bears? Because you don't see them starting 0-4?
I don't know. I think they're at home. The Rams are a warm weather dome team. The Rams have a very good roster and easily could win this game, but I think that they drop one.
Turn off your video because I'm not even looking at you, and hopefully I can hear what you're saying. Is my goal right now.
I got you back.
So you're gonna take the Rams. I'm gonna take you're gonna take the Bears. I am gonna take the Rams. I think that there is no chance. It's September. It's not. Maybe if it was a December game and the Rams are heading to Chicago and it's a windy Soldier Field, but no, I'm gonna take the Rams on that one. First divisional matchup: Vikings head to Green Bay. No, I'm taking Green Bay in that one.
Me too. I don't know who the quarterback is going to be for the Vikings, but no matter who it is, I don't know that they're going to come into Lambeau and take one from the Packers.
Yeah, I mean, we have them starting. I mean, at this point, we have them at 1-2. So maybe, I mean, it's a good point. Maybe at this point, they're thinking about putting in their fancy new toy that they drafted. Because I think Sam Darnold probably gets the nod for the most part in the first week or two. Maybe preseason says otherwise, but that's the current indication is that they're gonna sit him. So yeah, I'm taking Green Bay. We both take Green Bay. Packers go up 1-0 the first divisional matchup, and then the last one is Seahawks at the Lions on Monday Night Football.
I'll take the Lions in that one. In Detroit, I mean, two pretty good teams. The Seahawks are no slouch, but yeah, I take the Lions.
I am also going to take the Lions. I think the Seahawks were a little bit of a flash in the pan at times last year. Not sold on them by any means, and this is going to be a really good Lions team. They're at home. I'm going to take the Lions for those reasons. We head into the month of October. Jets, Aaron Rodgers, and the New York Jets, assuming Rodgers is still playing at this point, head to Minnesota. Who do you got in that one?
I'll take the Jets.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Jets as well. I'm assuming that the Jets will be significantly better with Rodgers under center, and I don't foresee him getting hurt again. The Jets, I see as I think they top out at 11-6. It would be my prediction. Somewhere in that, 10-7, 11-6. They're not going to be as dominant as what people thought they were going to be last year, but I think they'll be good enough to definitely make the playoffs and then just see what happens. Bears and Panthers. Bears are at home.
What week are we in? Week 4? Week 5?
We're in week 5.
So what I'm hesitating for is so the Panthers drafted running back Jonathan Brooks in this year's draft, and he's going to be out for the first few weeks. But this may be the first week that he comes back, and I'm trying to decide if that's a difference maker. I think I'll go Bears.
I am also going Bears. I think that the Panthers have some hope this upcoming season with Bryce Young coming into his second year, and they're going to be better than. I don't know if they get any worse than last year, but
Bryce Young was bad. I think at this point,
year. You're week 5. Bears are at home. Maybe I think if this game's in Carolina, maybe it's a little bit different or maybe a little bit closer of a matchup. But I think the Bears being at home gives this one the nod. A little bit later in that day, we have our 3:25 kickoff where the Green Bay Packers travel to the Los Angeles Rams.
I think I'm gonna.
It's a tough one.
Yeah, it is a tough one. I think I'm gonna go Rams on this one. That's a tough travel day. I mean, it's a long way to go, and the Rams are a good team. They came roaring back late in the season last year, and they got guys healthy this year. So I I think they give the Packers their second loss.
It's always tough to do this. It's tough to predict against or say that I think the Packers are going to lose. That's why I went 17 straight a couple years ago, or 16 straight a couple years ago. But I'll say this about the Rams, that Packers have kind of had their number the last 3-4 years. Even last year, when we had a very suspect Packers team, we were able to squeeze one out against the LA Rams. This can be a back and forth game, but I am with you. I think that they head to LA and things do not go all that good. I'm going to say it's maybe a little bit of a revenge game for the Rams too. So I'm going to give the Packers a loss in week 5. And then it looks like Detroit has a bye that early. Whew, way early for a bye week. So we're going to X that one out. I didn't know they had such an early bye week.
I don't like those early bye weeks. I think it throws everything off. I'd prefer it right in the middle of the season,
which we get this year. We'll get to that here in a second. So week 6, Cardinals. Actually Jacksonville heads to Chicago. I'm gonna take the Jaguars in this one. Bears are gonna get themselves another L.
Yeah, I'll take the Jags too. I think Trevor Lawrence takes a step up this year, and they have a lot of weapons on that team, and their defense is
I'm gonna
pretty decent.
Maybe I shouldn't even do a right click. Is this a London game? It's an 8:30 kickoff on Sunday, October 13th.
It's got to be.
I bet you that's a London game.
That's a home game for the Jags.
Does that change your opinion with it being a London game?
No, not at all. The Jaguars, out of any NFL team, play in London the most, and London loves them for whatever reason. So it's like a home game.
Yeah. And what was I going to say? I had a really Jaguars, London, home game. Bears suck. I don't know. I lost my train of thought. Let's head to the Packers game. The Cardinals head to Green Bay for the noon kickoff. Green Bay gets back on track for me. I'm going to give Green Bay the W.
Yeah, I agree. At home. I think even if the Cardinals are hot this year with Kyler Murray back and the new weapons, I think Lambeau's a tough place to play, and I don't think they get it done.
We're talking about, we both agree that we think they're coming off of a loss. One thing that Matt LaFleur has done the best of than any other coach in recent memory is they don't lose back-to-back games very often. What happened last year was kind of an anomaly. So I think that they get their things together. Detroit heads down to Dallas for America's game of the week. I'm going to take the Cowboys in this one.
Okay. I'm going to take the Lions.
Okay.
I think
coming off their bye week.
Yeah, coming off the bye week, and then the Cowboys in general. It's confusing on what's going on there, and they've had some success over the last few years. I think this might be a season that they don't do so hot.
You think the wheels are just going to fall off?
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
They've got talent. I mean, CeeDee Lamb is possibly the best wide receiver in the league, but I don't know. There's so many question marks there on why they don't succeed, why they can't move on in the playoffs. There's a lot of drama. I don't know. I can see them having a down year.
If they have themselves a down year, I mean, and McCarthy gets cut by week 10, it's like deja vu in Green Bay, what his experience was in Green Bay, where you got super talented teams that can't get the job done, and then just that final year, all hell goes. I mean, I don't think you're wrong. I think that Dallas is still Dallas. I think that they'll still be good this year. I do. But man, if you're right, that's going to be one entertaining dumpster fire to watch down there in the good old state of Texas. We head to week 7. The Houston Texans face off against the Packers Sunday, October 20th. This is the winter whiteout game. We did not talk about the helmets or anything. Maybe we'll get to that. We'll just do that when it gets a little bit closer. But great matchup. 2 stud young quarterbacks going at it. Who do you got? I'm going to let you take the first pick on this one.
I'm going to take the Packers in this one. It's a very exciting game. Like you said, 2 young quarterbacks who are up and coming. Houston, by all the moves that they made in the offseason, the success they had last season with CJ Stroud. A lot of people think that they're going to be a big competitor this year. Same with the Packers, though. This is a really big matchup. I think a lot of people are going to be watching this game. It's at Lambeau. Like you said, the whiteout uniforms, it's a special game, and I think the Packers take this one.
Yeah, this is going to be there are maybe 2 games the entire season that if the Packers lose, it's going to hurt. And this is one of those games. Hey, I mean, anytime they lose, it hurts. But then there's ones that hurt even more where you don't even want to watch any sports news the next morning. You want to just shut off the entire world because you don't want to hear about it. Yeah, there's a lot of excitement with this game. I think that there's no hotter quarterbacks than CJ Stroud and Jordan Love coming out of last year. They both did kind of the unimaginable going into the playoffs and winning on the road and doing what they did. I'm going to take the Packers to win this game just because I don't want to live in a world where they don't. It's going to be a good matchup. It's going to be a close game. It won't be the last time they meet, but they're not going to face off very often being in different conferences. These are 2 really good quarterbacks, and I hope this is one of those hope things, but I hope that Green Bay can run away with this one. So we're going to give them the W against the Texans. The next matchup is the Lions at Minnesota. I think we're both in the same mindset that the Vikings are going to probably be pretty bad this year, regardless of who they're facing off with. I'm going to take Detroit against the Vikings.
Yep, me too. Taking the Lions.
Loss, W. And then it looks like the Bears have their bye week in week 7. So we're going to cross them off the list on week 7.
Going
week
back to
8.
that Packers Texans matchup, that has the potential to become the next big quarterback rivalry. You had the Rodgers Brady rivalry. You had the Manning Brady rivalry. Man, it seems like Brady was in a lot of these rivalries. Brady Mahomes rivalry.
Well, you're not wrong.
Maybe this becomes the next big rivalry.
Let's take a step back real quick. Like the CJ Stroud, Jordan Love thing could be very similar to an Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady thing. Yeah, I'm making that call. It's a bold thing to say. I get it. But where I'm coming with is Rodgers and Brady didn't play very much in their illustrious careers. We thought we'd see more Super Bowls. If the meltdown in Seattle didn't happen, we would have saw that Super Bowl. So I hope that these 2 quarterbacks face off a lot more in the future. But I think there's a good chance that these guys only play 3-4 times against each other in their careers, unless, CJ Stroud somehow gets traded to an NFC team and they play the Packers more. But yeah, it could be 2 young and up and coming quarterbacks and a lot of potential. And I have no idea what you're looking at. I'm just looking at this, so I'm not seeing your reactions. If you're trying to talk, go ahead and talk.
Nope, you're good. You're good.
Okay, we're good. So we are on week 8. Packers head to Jacksonville. What do you got on this one?
We're not going to do the Lions-Titans first?
Sure, let's talk about the Lions and Titans. I think I don't know. I'm going to take the Lions.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Lions too. So Packers-Jaguars. Let's see. In Jacksonville, I think I'd take the Packers in this one. We've talked about Jaguars a little bit. I think they're a decent team and they're at home, but I think Green Bay comes in and takes care of business again.
Christian takes the Packers against the Jaguars. Nariah does not. This is that next trap game on the schedule. We do not historically travel to Florida and play well. I don't know what it is. I think the Packers are going to be a better team than the Jacksonville Jaguars, but on the road, late October, coming off back-to-back wins. We've won 2 in a row. I just see them dropping this one, unfortunately, and that puts me at 3 losses for the Packers, and you only have 2 losses for the Packers, so you got to be feeling pretty good about yourself on that one.
Yeah, that week 1 loss isn't looking so bad anymore, is it?
Not so bad anymore. That Brazil game doesn't look so bad. Bears head to the Commanders. Are the Commanders going to be a football team? Like, are they going to be any good this year?
I've heard some good things from their camp about the rookie quarterback they've got. They've got weapons around him. Austin Eckler is in Washington now, so that may be a factor. I think I am going to take the Bears in this one, but I don't think the Commanders are going to be as bad as some people think.
So Sorry, you cut out there. Who'd you take? Bears or Commanders?
I took the Bears.
The Bears? Are you saying the Bears?
The Bears.
Okay, I got to go back to the camera now. Shake your head up and down if you're saying the Bear. Okay, you're taking the Bears over the Commanders. I figured as much, but damn technology getting me down. I'm going to take the Bears as well. I already put my W down on that old game while you were cutting in and out inside my ears. God, I love it so much. What else we got? Any other matchups that week? Where are the Vikings? Oh, they were Thursday night. Boy, did we skip them. Minnesota heads to the LA Rams on Thursday Night Football. I feel like we got to start giving them some W's, but I'm not giving them a W on this one.
Yeah, I'm not either. That's I mean, in a rebuilding year for them, this is kind of a tough schedule.
Yeah, not an easy start. We both have them at 1-6 through week 8. Woof. I'm I'm trying to be unbiased, but I just don't see them as a very good team. We head to week 9, and the first matchup that we are looking for are the Colts at the Vikings. Can they pull off this one? Do they get their victory?
You know what? I think I'll give them this one. They're back at home.
I'm thinking like a late second field goal.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we'll give them one.
Like that. Good job, Minnesota. You've officially got your second victory of the season in week 9. Go Vikings. Bears head to Arizona to face the Cardinals. We've had a little conversation about the Cardinals. Probably don't have to dive into it too much. Does Caleb Williams out-duel Kyler Murray?
I'm going to go Cardinals. Are we?
I don't think the internet wants me to know what you think about the Bears, is what it's boiling down right now.
I said Cardinals.
Cardinals. Fly, baby, fly. You're going to take the Cardinals. Let's see. Coming off a bye, or they had their bye. They got a W. I mean, I think at some point, Caleb Williams is going to probably start to play a little bit better. I'm going to disagree with you on that one. I'm going to give the Bears the victory against the Cardinals. And then the Lions head to Lambeau Field in America's Game of the Week. These are the ones that matter. These are the ones that decide the division. Where are you going to go with it?
So this matchup in the NFC North, I think they split. And I think they're going to split away games. So I think the Lions take this one.
You know, it's funny you say that. You know, I was thinking a very similar thing, and I don't know if it's the recency bias of last season, how they split away games or not. I really like the Packers in a dome. I don't know what it is. It's not even a Jordan Love thing. It has nothing to do with any of the players that are still on the roster, quite frankly. But it seemed like when they play in the dome, whether it's Dallas, New Orleans, I like their chances. I am going to take, so you're taking the Lions because the Lions are on the road. I'm going to take the Packers because once again, I have them coming off of a week 8 loss. And I'll let you know what I think about them splitting the season here in a little bit, because you know, maybe I don't agree with you on that one. Gotta let me load the next page. Week 10, we are officially in the month of November. Wow, the Patriots show up in our division. They head to Chicago to face off against the Bears. I'm going to give that one to the Bears because I think the Patriots have lost all hope in what football looks like these days.
I'm going to agree with you. I give this one to the Bears. New England is a shit show right now.
Yeah, it's bad. Vikings head to Jacksonville. I am going to give this one to the Vikings as an upset.
Interesting. I'm not going to do that. I'm gonna have them losing to the Jaguars.
See, the Jaguars are probably I don't know, we're in week 10, so I don't know where their bye week is, but they're probably a 7-2, 6-3 team somewhere in there. Assuming they've had their bye week. I think that they look past the Vikings. That's why I'm going to take Vikings in the upset. And the Vikings are going to get hot. They're going to win back-to-back games in my predictions that are just coming straight off the cuff. Packers are on their bye week in week 10, right smack dab in the middle. No better place you'd like to see that. And the Lions head down to Texas against the Texans. I mean, weird. I'm just thinking right now, like if you're talking about a football team heading down to Texas for a really good matchup, you got to be thinking the Cowboys, but that entire thing has just shifted on us. I think a really good matchup is the Texans. Whew, that's a good Sunday night football game. Can the Lions pull it off on the road against CJ Stroud and the Texans?
I'm going to go Lions.
I'm going to go Texans. I think this is a great opportunity for the Texans to prove that not only can they stand toe to toe with some of their own conference powerhouses, but they can take on some of those NFC powerhouses too. If this game's at Detroit, I give it to the Lions. I think this being a game with the Texans, it's going to be a close one, but I'm going to take the Texans to pull off that victory. And that has me at back-to-back losses for Detroit, which is kind of a tough thing to fathom because I think they're going to be a really good team. Week 11 Packers come off of the bye, and thank the Lord they get to head down to Chicago and face off against the Bears. Any doubt that the Packers are going to take care of business in this one?
No, I'll take the Packers in this one. But looking at this matchup with the Bears, we there's so many people talking about the Bears and how high powered their offense is. It's very possible we could be completely wrong, and this may be a very tough week. But the way I see it right now, I'm taking the Packers in this one.
The most interesting thing with this matchup is that it's the Bears' first divisional matchup. So we're going to get into the back half of the schedule, but this is the very first time that the Bears are going to play someone in their division. I have them at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 3 heading into that game, and you have them at 4 and 4 heading into that game. Now comes the division opponents: Packers twice, Lions twice. I think this is where the season might really start to fall away from them if it didn't up to this point. But yeah, I'm with you. I think we both take the Packers, or we do both take the Packers. Right underneath that, Jacksonville heads to the Lions. I'm going to say that the Lions get back on the winning track. Home game. Do you see an upset? Because you got the Lions on one hell of a win streak right now.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I'm going to take the Jags. It seems like every year the hot teams all of a sudden drop one that no one expects them to. So I think I'm going to take the Jags in this one.
All right. And I don't think the Jacks. Yeah. Okay. I'm not gonna dive into that one too further. I'm not gonna dive too far in that one. It's gonna be fun looking back on these. Vikings head to Tennessee. My God, I have the Vikings on a 2-game win streak. No, it's over. They had a fun little streak there. They felt like champions for a little stretch of time there. I'm going to give them the loss, and Tennessee takes that one.
I'll give this one to the Vikings.
You said the Vikings?
I did.
All right. Alrighty then. That's fine. Do what you want with your body. Your body, your choice, right?
I don't have a lot of explanation behind it, but I'm just gonna go with them that week.
Sometimes those are the best ones. Best way to bet. Week 12, Bears get their second division matchup of the season by hosting the Minnesota Vikings. Boy, I'm going to give it to the Bears just because they're at home.
I'll go Bears as well.
Right.
That
you and I do not like the Vikings this year.
What is that? That's not Thanksgiving, is it? Thanksgiving weekend?
That is, no, it's the Sunday before Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Yeah. Just a typical Sunday. And I'll tell you why it's a typical Sunday in about a minute, because we got to talk about the Lions first. Lions head to Indianapolis to face off against the Colts. That's my upset game. You look at Jacksonville as that being a game that they look past. I say that they look past the Colts a little bit, and they lose that one on the road.
Okay. I'll take the Lions in that one.
All right. And the reason why I say it's not just any Sunday is because America's game of the week is the San Francisco 49ers heading to Green Bay to face off against the Green Bay Packers. this is that second game for me. This, just like that Houston game, is, man, if they lose, it's going to hurt extra on Monday morning. It's going to hurt that night. It's going to hurt for me that night if they don't pull this one off. So as much as I want to say that the 49ers are their kryptonite and the Packers just cannot get over that hump, I think that they will do it. It's not really necessarily hope. I think that the Packers knew that they let that game, the NFC divisional matchup, slip through their fingers. They're back at home. They've played the 49ers better at home. So I'm going into that one very early on in this year saying that the Packers are going to get some revenge against the 49ers.
Yeah, this is a tough one. And a frustrating one for Packer fans, because you see San Francisco on the schedule and you just remember all those previous years where for whatever reason they are Green Bay's kryptonite. I'm going to go with the Packers as well in this one. And I will say, at this point in the season, who knows what these teams are going to look like? You know, you could on either side. There's injuries, there's trades happening throughout the season. So who knows what these teams are going to look like? I'm going to go with the Packers in this one. But yeah, that one's marked on my calendar for sure.
Yeah, that's opening weekend of hunting. So I'm glad it's an afternoon game. Can go out in the morning, sit in the woods, look at squirrels for a couple hours, and then watch some Packers football. That's my favorite. That's my absolute favorite. So we're back to Thanksgiving. Here's our Thanksgiving matchups. Per usual, the Lions are playing at home on Thanksgiving Day. Chicago gets to travel to Detroit this go around. Can they do what the Packers did last year and upset the Lions on the road?
I don't think so. I think, this Lions team is essentially the same as last season. And I'm sure they all remember that Thanksgiving game last year. So I don't think they let that happen again.
I think that's the biggest thing right there, is there's no way that they're going to lose back-to-back Thanksgiving games. Not this team. Maybe like, the 10-year-old, like 10 years ago, Detroit Lions lose back-to-back games. But yeah, I think Lions take care of business. And this isn't even a jab on the Bears and that organization. I think you put 31, no, I won't go that high. I'll say 29, 28 other teams against Detroit in this game, and I'm going to take Detroit. I just don't think there's any way that they're going to lose that game this go around after Green Bay surprised them last year. The late game, another fun one at Lambeau Field. Miami travels up to Green Bay. This is a very talented Miami roster. Who do you got in this one? Because I got to think about it.
Yeah, you always got to think about it going against the Dolphins. I give it to the Packers in this one, especially since they're playing at Lambeau. This Dolphins team is built based on speed. And in the cold weather, things slow down a little bit. So, and I have some question marks about this Dolphins team. They had success last year, but who knows if this speed demon team that they've put together is the right answer. So maybe we see a regression this year from the Dolphins.
I'm gonna take the Dolphins in this one, and I take them because the Packers they have no reason again to lose this game. I've just been watching too much Packers football over the last 10, 15 years to know that high profile, primetime, Thanksgiving night, Lambeau's going to be electric. And this isn't really necessarily a game where the Packers play bad, but I think it's a game where there's an untimely fumble or just something just doesn't go right, and the entire game starts to unravel from there. I'm going to give them an L, but there's a lot of winning in the rest of my predictions. So I'm going to give them an L on that one. We head to the rest of Thanksgiving weekend. The Cardinals finally travel to Minnesota's at home against them. I'm gonna take the Cardinals. I'm taking the Cardinals on this one.
Yeah. Sorry, Vikes.
I didn't think it. I guess why I'm laughing as much as I am is that I didn't think I would dislike the Vikings record as much as how this thing is shaking out. I mean, there are still 6 weeks or 5 weeks to go, so maybe they'll get some W's, but I did not expect them to be on such a losing streak here. The following week, Packers get another Thursday night matchup on Thursday Night Football against the Lions. Going past, or with your previous words, you liked the road team in this one, so I'm assuming you're going to take Green Bay.
Yes, sir. Like I said, I think they're going to split. I probably got it backwards though. It's probably going to be they're going to win at home and lose away, but I'm going to stick with my original thought process and take the Packers in this one.
See, and I'm going to take the Packers as well, which has me predicting the Packers sweep the Lions. Again, this is not necessarily very thought out because I'm kind of going through this schedule as you are and just kind of thinking of the matchups, but I'm seeing them laying an absolute egg on Thanksgiving night, and it kind of solidifies my belief that they don't lose back-to-back weeks. They head to Detroit. They play well in the Dome. I think that the Packers will take care of business and get 2 games on the Lions, which is a very good team to get 2 games on. Atlanta Falcons head to Falcons. But why does that sound like a weird word to me right now? Atlanta heads to Minnesota to face off against the Vikings. What do we got? Are we ever going to take the Vikings anymore the rest of the season? I'm gonna give this one to Minnesota. Upset. They're all up. If the Vikings win, it's an upset.
Well, I think I gave them 2 already. I'm not going to give them this.
You have them at 3 wins.
Oh, I'm still not going to give them this one.
Okay, another L for Minnesota and Christian's category. Later on in that weekend, Bears head to the Niners. Do we even need to guess? That is going to be an absolute slaughtering. I'm giving them the L.
Yep, same.
And then we're getting close. Final 4 weeks of the season. First matchup in our division. Boy, you got to go down a little ways. Ooh, that's a good game. Buffalo Bills at the Detroit Lions. That's a fun one to watch. CBS, 3:00 kickoff. What do you got there, Charlie?
I'm going to take the Lions in this one. That Bills team is not the same team that they have been the last few seasons as far as personnel. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what kind of team they are this year. Either way, I'm taking the Lions in that one.
Yeah, I'm going to take Detroit as well in that one. I agree. The Buffalo Bills, just, I don't know. They might be regressing this upcoming season. Yes, Josh Allen is still a stud. Stephon Diggs doesn't even play there anymore. He's down in Houston, right? So I think they're going to be figuring themselves out. They're probably a 9-10 win team as well, right there, maybe competing for a playoff spot against the Jets. But I think Detroit being at home, I have them coming. I think we both have them coming off of a loss against the Packers. They got to get back on track. They'll show up that game and win. This was the next game, Packers at Seattle. So I really wanted to go back. I went to Seattle back in 2014, took my wife there, or actually my girlfriend proposed to her in Seattle. When I saw that we were heading back there to play, this one was circled. I'm like, I'm heading back to Seattle. It's been 10 years. We're going to go live that up again. This is December 15th. Suffice it to say, I want no business with Seattle on December 15th. That's a little sidetrack story. I'm going to take, oh God, I just have so many bad memories of Seattle. I'm going to take Seattle, and this will be the Packers' last loss of the season. I don't really care what the rest of the schedule looks like. I don't see them losing any more games past this, but I do see them laying a stinker here in this one.
I thought you were frozen there for a second. I'm going to take the Packers in this one.
All right. And then the Bears head to Minnesota. We took the Bears last time, I think. Now the Vikings are at home.
I think I'll go with the Bears. I think whoever ends up being the starter at this point for the Vikings continues Kirk Cousins' poor play in prime time.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Bears as well. Sorry, Vikings fans. I don't really have a whole lot of explanation, but I did give you a W the previous week, so I'm more of a fan of you than Christian is. So just want to throw it out there. I got the Packers the rest of the way. So who are we playing? Who are we beating in Week 16? We're about to find out here in just a moment as we scroll down. We got the anticipation builds though, because It's the Lions at Chicago. Lions are too good. Bears are not happening. So the Lions are going to sweep the Bears, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'll take the Lions too. Lions are a very good team. They're going to be tough to beat. They're going to be tough for anybody to beat.
Next up, the Vikings get a chance to head to Seattle. I think we both know that answer.
I swear, Vikings fans, I don't hate you. I just don't have a lot of faith in this Vikings team this year.
And then on Monday, December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas, the Saints come to Green Bay. Yes, I'm going to take the W. Do you have any surprises, Christian, for me on this one?
Not on this one, no. I'll take the Packers.
And then, with 2 weeks to go, I'm going to guess you're also going to have the Packers winning these next two. Bears face off against Seattle. Seattle heads to Chicago. I am going to give that one to the Bears.
I'll go with Seattle on that one.
All right. And then the Packers head to Minnesota on Sunday at noon kickoff. I'm going to take the Packers, of course.
I'll take the Packers as well.
Man, that was your one chance to redeem yourself with all those Vikings fans, and you blew it. Could have made up for their abysmal season.
Hey, man,
and then the Lions.
What do you expect?
And then the Lions head to San Francisco. That is a tough game in a Week 17 matchup. Boy, I am going to, seeding and everything is going to be really important. If this is a Week 18 matchup, maybe there's some starters sitting, but it's only Week 17. I'm guessing it's going to be one for that's a really good Monday night football. I think that's the best Monday night football game of the season. Just kind of shooting off the cuff there. I'm going to give that one to San Francisco. I think they win that one at home.
I'll take the Lions in that one. Okay. It's a toss-up, really.
And then last but not least, Week 18. First matchup in the division, Vikings versus Lions, Bears versus Packers. These are all divisional matchups in the Week 18. The NFL likes to do that. Lions, I think, are the obvious favorite. I don't think we're going to change course there between the two of us. I guess the $1 million question would be: do the Bears finally get a chance to not get swept by the Packers and steal one at Lambeau on the final week of the year?
Aaron Rodgers transferred the deed to owning the Chicago Bears. He transferred it to Jordan Love. It's not going to happen.
Well, I mean, with that being said, I have the Packers essentially going 6-0 in the division. You have them at 5-1 in the division. I think 6-0 is a tall feat. If I'm just thinking about statistics, that's a rare thing to do. I'm going to switch back over to you here quick and quit sharing the screen. Do you think 6-0 or 5-1 is possible? I mean, we both hate the Vikings.
I definitely think it's possible with what the Bears and the Vikings have going on this season. I mean, maybe we're wrong about the Bears. Maybe they are a better team than what you and I are expecting, but they both have a lot of changes and a lot of question marks. So I don't see it as unreasonable that Packers and Lions end up top of the division, and really it comes down to overall record between the two of them. Are you frozen? Is it over? Did we make it this far? Oh no. Oh no. He's gone. Nariah just disappeared. Not sure what happened there.
All right.
Welcome back to For Another Packers podcast.
Mini heart attack. I thought we lost the entire recording, so I'm so glad.
That would have been awful.
Okay, where were we?
We literally had just finished the regular season schedule for the entire NFC North. What I was talking about was before you so rudely just left the stream here, I did mention to our listeners that remember last week I mentioned Ketan Oladapo, rookie safety, had just come back from injury. I mentioned that he said something about being a lifetime Packer fan, dyed his hair gold and stuff like that. That is true. When he was drafted, he did an interview and mentioned names like Aaron Rodgers, Jordy Nelson, Brett Favre, among other players that he looked up to as a kid growing up in Oregon. So he's from Oregon, but has been a lifetime Packer fan. And he did dye his hair gold after he was drafted by the Packers. The whole dyeing the hair thing started when I think he said it was during the COVID season in college. He just decided to start dyeing his hair funny colors because his mom dyed her hair blue or something like that. So just wanted to touch on that. I was not off when I said that last week. And then I kind of did a little sign off. I said, thanks for watching. I did the whole I'll see you on the internet thing. So you should enjoy watching that since you weren't here for it. But yeah.
Yeah. There's no way I'm editing this. This video will probably post on Friday at this point because I have to go to bed.
Yeah.
But to wrap up the video, final schedule predictions. So let's start with Minnesota finishing last in the division. That was a consensus between the two of us. You have them at 3-14, and I have them at a 4-13. So I gave them a slight nod. You're welcome, Vikings fans. If you're looking, to preference one of us over the other, clearly I am your guy.
Well, you know what, Vikings fans, you're welcome for being realistic. You guys don't have a quarterback. I don't think a lot of Vikings fans have a lot of hope for this season. So,
okay, all right, fair enough. Bears finish third in the division. That is our consensus. Again, you have them less than I do. 6-11 is where you see the Bears finishing. I have them at 8-9. I think that's probably a little bit more realistic of a. That's just me, though. That's just me. We're gonna figure out how it goes. I don't see them at 6-11. I think that's way too low.
Yeah, I don't know.
You feel confident with that 6-11?
I don't know. It's we've talked about our hesitation with Caleb Williams. I don't think he's the guy. I think there's too much drama there, and then there's a lot of talk about the weapons that they've brought in the offseason. You got DeAndre Swift, you got Keenan Allen, and you've got DJ Moore that they just signed to an extension. Keenan Allen and DeAndre Swift are both guys that have had injury issues. Keenan Allen is a veteran and kind of entering his, I would think, his last few years in the NFL. Maybe not last few, but he's been in the league for a while. So injury issues, and he's an older wide receiver. And then DeAndre Swift has had injury issues. So I don't know that these offseason acquisitions are as big of a deal as some may think. Who knows? I may be wrong. I don't claim to be an expert. So.
Oh, you are, though, now. You're officially an expert. You have your own podcast. Detroit, you really like the Lions. 14-3. I'm probably a little down on the Lions from the looks of it. I have them at 10-7. That's not a record that I would peg the Lions at. I think they'll be better than a 10-7 team, but you're at 14-3. I'm at 10-7. Maybe it's somewhere in the middle, but I probably could have gave them a couple more W's than where they finished. And that puts us both at the same consensus that Green Bay wins the division. Welcome to the Pour Another Packers podcast. But you really like the Packers. You have them at 14-3. And if they go 14-3, that sounds like just one hell of an awful thing that's going to happen in the playoffs.
You took the words out of my mouth. That's exactly what I was going to say. No, I think, I don't know. It seems possible to me. I think this Packers team is something special with what they've built. And Jordan Love, obviously, last year came into his own towards the end of the season there. And I think that continues.
I think what's most amazing about your Packers prediction here is you have them losing in week 1 and finishing with the best record probably in the NFL for this season. There's not a lot of teams that hit 14 wins. But to double down on it, they hit their bye week in week 10, and you don't have them losing another game until they hoist the Lombardi Trophy.
Run the table, baby. Run the table.
I don't have the exact date of week 10, but I'm guessing that's somewhere like late. That's probably like the first week of November. They're going to go 4 months without losing a football game. And if that's the case, man, I like your optimism. That's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a lot
I'm
of
getting
fun.
chills just thinking about it.
Yeah. Considering that this was supposed to be our shortest video, this has now officially become the longest night of my life. It is 15, no, I'll be honest, it's 18 minutes until midnight. Any final thoughts as we wrap up this glorious experience that has been? I enjoy the schedule predictions. It's going to be fun to come back at these. We're going to do week by week predictions as we talk about, as we go through the season. But I always like looking back on this and seeing if there's any accuracy about what we think heading into the season.
Yeah, are we gonna take any bets on this? Division records or Packers records? Yeah, what should we bet?
Well, what do you want to bet? Not money.
Not money.
Money's easy.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I'm like, it's got to be something that can go viral.
Yeah, right.
Let's talk about it on the side.
We'll figure something out. Listeners, we will figure something out. We will come up with
comment down below. There it is. So like the video, comment down below what you think the Packers record will finish at, what you think of Christian just absolutely hating on the Minnesota Vikings, what you think the loser should have to do if their schedule is off or wrong or disastrously wrong. I want to hear it all. I appreciate you guys checking out the video. I apologize that this video is not posting on Wednesday morning, but look, there's some circumstances that's going to prevent me from getting this thing posted in the next 7 hours.
Yeah, you're going to Green Bay.
Until next time. Yeah, I'm heading to Green Bay. So thanks for checking out the video. Until next time, Christian and I will see you on the internet. Thanks for watching.